Once you found faith, you have to begin to separate yourself, not because you dislike people, but because you understand that it's like somebody gave me an analogy of a man who was drowning in the ocean, and there was a lifeguard that was a trained lifeguard. You know, he was able-bodied, but he looked at the man drowning, and the man drowning was like splashing around very violently. The lifeguard looked at the man and waited until the man finally sunk under and didn't come back up. And then he went to go rescue him after he had stopped flailing around. The moral of the story is you cannot be saved if you're not ready to be still and to go be introspection and to go inward. You know what I'm trying to say? Because if
okay,
does that make sense? So because he's flailing around, therefore he cannot be saved.
Right, because he's not going to allow that.
Exactly. He's too frantic.
The knowledge to, right.
Exactly. The lifeguard would have perhaps lost his life. True. The lifeguard would have perhaps lost his life too in the process, you know, because the person is still subject to the tide of the waves of what's going on within humanity. Does that make sense?
Right. Uh-huh.
So that's why we have to isolate ourselves. I'm trying to say that's not narcissistic. We're doing it out of love, because we understand we have to hold a certain vibration of light. We have to be beacons, right? We can't be beacons if we're still subject to the crashing of the waves ourselves. For questions, comments, and to show your support, visit us on the web at AfroEmpath.com.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Your voice sounds different. Sounds great. Yeah, what's up with that?
It's hay fever season.
Oh my
down
God.
here.
You didn't tell me you sound like a damn frog. All right, Kermit. So you had a question for me, and I figured I'd answer for the benefit of others, yeah?
Yeah, what was it? Whether or not empaths can be narcissists.
All right, I'll read it here. It says, the question I have is, can an empath be a narcissist? It's like here in the U.S., only one can not say that a black person can be racist, because the system does not allow that.
Correct.
They can be prejudiced or biased, but they cannot be racist. Can an empath be a narcissist? So basically you're saying is like using that analogy, like, no, I think what separates an empath from a narcissist is that, like, a narcissist succumbs to their pain. Does that make sense? And they give into it. And they are in their own world of pain, and because of that, they for whatever reason, I guess because they're weak, they no longer have the ability to empathize outside of what they feel to understand others. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So okay, so there's a post I just posted here. It's a quote from somebody. It says, both the empath and the narcissist suffer from early developmental trauma. The difference is that the narcissists are essentially weak and succumb to selfishness and hate, while the empath rises above their torturous past and continue to be there for humanity.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's like, you know, there's a term called the wounded healer. You hear that term?
No, I'd have to look it up.
Well, it's like a metaphysical term, but basically, you know, even though we get wounded, I'm trying to say, and we have our own wounds, we can still, even though we're still hurting internally, right, deep down in our hearts, right, we still have the compassion for others to do the right thing for the sake of humanity. Christ, the story of Christ is the greatest example of that, right?
Right.
He's on the cross, and he literally has, he's bleeding out, and he's having compassion for those to the left and to the right of him, also on the cross. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
One of them is, so it's like, basically the story of Christ is the story of the greatest empath. He gives his life, so that humanity's, so the souls of humanity may be free from this world. You know what I'm trying to say? But he's willing to endure pain and not give into that pain and succumb to that pain, and sink into a level of hatred and selfishness. Right. Yeah. So let me ask you, when you ask that question, is that in relation to something that's going on in your life, like a kind of a moral dilemma that you've had recently, based upon some circumstances that you faced?
I just know that like today was my best friend's birthday, and I was just so focused on getting things done today that I forgot it was her birthday. And she called, and I was like, "Oh, I have to about the parks." And then I realized, like 2 hours later, oh my god, I forgot to tell her birthday. So it was just so I had to call back. I'm so sorry. I apologize. No, it's not. I'm sorry anymore. It's I apologize. So I apologize, but I forgot to tell you happy birthday. So that's where like the question came up. Like, can an empath be a narcissist, or is it because they're taking on the traits of the narcissist at that time?
So you're saying it was your friend's birthday and she called you to say, why didn't you wish her happy birthday type deal?
No, she didn't call. No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
No, she didn't call.
So in this example you're giving, I don't get it. Who's the empath and who's the narcissist, or I don't get it.
Well, no, because I was, so what happened was I had called her because we both work at my practice. And so I called her because there was a situation first thing in the morning, like, oh my gosh, this person is on my schedule, and what do we do legally, and so on and so forth. But during that entire conversation that I had with her, I forgot it was her birthday. So who
cares?
Then later on, then I remember I said, my best friend's birthday is today. What in the world? I just called her this morning and forgot to just
So
say
you
happy
think that's
birthday to her.
narcissistic of you to forget?
I was just selfish. I was being selfish. But it just, just that I knew I wasn't narcissistic, but
That's not narcissism.
No, I'm not saying it's narcissism. This is the INFJ thinking though. So
yeah, but here's the thing. Like,
what happens? Can it?
Here's the definition of good and evil, so you can understand what narcissism is and what The definition of good and evil is this: evil is those who wish to see the continuation of this world, right? And good is those who see the end of the world, the return of the Messiah and the end of the world. Yeah, that's what good and evil is. So how does saying happy birthday or not happy birthday fall into either one of those categories?
It doesn't, but it led to thinking, what happened here?
No, well,
do you remember? Do you remember like the little one of the people posted up that little meme about how INFJs think?
Yeah,
and so like it'll lead like all these paths, so it'll lead. Well, so that's what happened.
I understand. I'm a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising, so I understand all about overthinking and being or analytical. They call it an analysis paralysis. I understand that, but here's what I think was going on with you is basically, obviously you're going through a period in your life where you're having to devote more energy towards healing your own heart than you would have perhaps in the past. Yes.
Correct.
So what you're thinking is, okay, I'm in a kind of a cocoon phase right now, in a kind of a stage of isolation in my life. Am I, because of that, and because I'm dealing with my own hurts and my own pains, am I being selfish? Is it selfish for me to be thinking about me right now and not about my friend's birthday or my friend, period? Right? No, it's not. It's not selfish. No, that's not. No, because by you healing, again, what good and evil, by you healing, that helps to raise the vibration of this planet, right?
Right.
And so if in order for this world to end, or for there has to be a vibration of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, justice comes through Christ, right? But the vibration of love and peace can come through us. I'm trying to say, because we're all part of that body of Christ, right?
Correct.
So you have to, in order for you to be vibrating in love, you have to first love yourself. So in order to love yourself, in order to know God is love, in order to know love, you have to first know pain. So you're knowing what pain is, and you're beginning to come out the other side of that, which is a deeper understanding of yourself and a greater trust in God through it all, right? So you're doing exactly the right thing, and it might seem like selfishness from the outside, but the difference is that generally speaking, spiritual people are, this is a custom of spiritual people to go on, and I think it was, in Christ, the story of Christ, I believe it was, he went out kind of on a, away from the world for 40 days and 40 nights, no?
Correct. He went up to
Okay.
the mountain. Yeah.
Okay. In the story of
And
Buddha,
was tempted.
yeah, exactly. In the story of Buddha is similar. He was, he went, under the Bodhi tree for a long period of time and also was tempted. So, I mean, this is a spiritual practice of most people, but we live in the modern world, so we don't have the ability. Most of us, I do personally, but that's I can say I do. I've chosen to isolate myself. I'm trying to say as much as I can from people that were once friends are now acquaintances because I needed time to heal. You know what I'm trying to say?
Correct.
I haven't had many relationships with people because I needed to find a relationship with myself and God. So that's just part of being a person of faith. You know what I'm trying to say?
Correct.
So if your friend's a true friend to you, then she'll understand that aspect.
She understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
she understood. She was like, girl.
yeah. So that's
She was
just
like, yeah, if it was like 10 o'clock and you didn't call, I'd have been like up in your face. And I was like, child, keep going. She's awesome. She's the one who's helping me through all of this.
good. Okay. Yeah. So this is all right. So this is just you overthinking then. Yeah.
Right. That was just
exactly
that was
because you're growing closer to God by being introspective. So you're gonna now I'll say this, like in terms of humanity, there is a certain so a narcissist gives up on their humanity, meaning feeling for others and caring about their fellow man. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Whereas someone of faith eventually, it's not that we give up on humanity, so to speak. We just understand that kindness to humanity is really just patience. You know what I'm trying to say? Because ultimately they're going to have to go through a process of knowledge, or I should say a process of pain, introspection, and subsequent wisdom themselves. And we have to isolate ourselves from them. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense. And ultimately it's like, I just had a quote from the Bible. I'll try to pull it up here. And if on the outside this may seem as if it's a bit harsh, but if you can understand the metaphysics of it, you understand that it's a process. So it's Matthew's 18 to 21. I'm not good with Bible verses, but it says, then Christ saw a crowd around him, and then he gave the orders to cross over to the other side of the lake. Then a scribe came and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Christ replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Christ told him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." Mm. Now you could think, whoa, that seems a bit inhumane of Christ to say that. You know what I'm trying to say? Right. But the thing is, you have to understand the concept of what is living and what is dead. You know what I'm trying to say? Human beings, basically most human beings are wandering around Earth with no spiritual light inside them. You know what I'm trying to say? Correct. They're not. It says in the Bible that most humans are not much different from animals. So the thing is that we have to at some point distance ourselves from the cares of the world. In that story, it was the care of his dead father, and even I would go farther to say even the care of dead people, right? To begin to find inner peace and cultivate inner peace within inside of ourselves and renew our faith in the process that all people have to go through, which is a process of knowledge, action, pain, introspection, and wisdom, right? Right. So it's like, the world's in a state of chaos, but people, the story of Christ is a perfect example of why people of that everybody needs pain in order to find God and to find faith. Even Christ had to go through pain, right? Correct. And even Christ initially didn't want to. He didn't want to. He's still human. He didn't want to be crucified. You know what I'm trying to say? So even Christ had to learn faith. You know what I'm trying to say? So the point is that we all have to go through pain. And as we go through that process, it's like we as people that have been kind of, a bit initiated into that pain have to understand that everybody's on a road towards finding God. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And once you found faith, you have to begin to separate yourself, not because you dislike people, but because you understand that it's like, somebody gave me an analogy of, a man who was, drowning in the ocean, and there was a lifeguard that was a trained lifeguard. You know, he was able-bodied, but he looked at the man drowning, and the man drowning was like splashing around very violently. The lifeguard looked at the man and waited until the man finally sunk under and didn't come back up. And then he went to go rescue him after he had stopped flailing around. The moral of the story is that you cannot be saved if you're struggling. If you're not ready to be still and to go be introspective and to go inward. You know what I'm trying to say? Because if okay, does that make sense? So because he's flailing around, therefore he cannot be saved.
Right, because he's not going to allow that.
Exactly. He's too frantic.
The knowledge to, right.
Exactly. The lifeguard would have perhaps lost his life. True. The lifeguard would have perhaps lost his life too in the process, you know, because the person is still subject to the tide of the waves of what's going on within humanity. Does that make sense?
Right.
So that's why we have to isolate ourselves. I'm trying to say that's not narcissistic. We're doing it out of love, because we understand we have to hold a certain vibration of light. We have to be beacons, right? We can't be beacons if we're still subject, or rocks, if we're still subject to the crashing of the waves ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. So, and not everybody's gonna understand that, you know. And in that same story, I should have said that there was people watching the lifeguard that were on the beach, the people that were not lifeguards, you know, the regular beachgoers, and they were looking at the lifeguards. They were angry at the lifeguard, like, what are you doing? He's drowning. What, you know, like what? Why aren't you jumping in to save him? You know what I'm trying to say? Because the lifeguard understood something. You know what I'm trying to say, that they didn't understand yet. So that's what you have to know. You know.
Right.
That's exactly it. Even in the story of Christ, like people could see the story or see the happening of this man being spit upon and beaten and chastised, right, for being actually what he said he was. Correct. Some of them might have been sad about that. Some of them might have been, not knowing who he was, might have been gleeful and thought he was getting what he deserved. Some of them, if they were wise, would have understood that this man is suffering for our sins so he can free us from this world. Correct. Right? So it's all about perspective, and you need to have people in your life and surround yourself with people in your life that understand things from a higher perspective. So you're not worrying about having to worry about petty human mundane things. I'm trying to say, because you understand that they've been waiting for you to reach that point, all along.
Yeah, I would have to say that's very true. Yeah. That is extremely true.
All right. I hope that hopefully answered it for you, right?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
it did.
Cool. Yep. Cool. If you or anyone you know would be interested in spiritual life coaching, email afroempath@gmail.com or visit us on the web at afroempath.com for more information.